Hey guys, Danielle Rapolo here from your Spa Performance Department, the regional performance consultant for the West Coast. Today I'm going to be discussing setting your spa's goals, the purpose behind it, and how to implement them in your Spa Intel software. So, what's the main purpose of setting your spa goals? Well, we all know that there's a ton of different benefits and reasons that you should, but the main reason is so that you can experience growth within your business year over year, at least at 10% in your Planet Beach spa. Some quick facts about Planet Beach goal setting. It's pretty important that you follow the procedures that we assist you with and provide support with when you set these monthly goals in your spa to be at the 10% increase year over year first, to measure out what would be the accurate business growth goal within your Planet Beach that's going to help you see what it would take for you to be successful. Also, you should really map out the entire year in advance for these goals to see this increase. Why? Because we all know that there are those months where you experience particular situations that you wouldn't typically experience. You may have a staffing issue one month, which would set you behind on hitting your goal for, let's say, June. So you would have to reconfigure what your goals would be for July. That way you can actually make sure you're staying on top of seeing profit. So, with that said, we are going to discuss a different way in setting goals, not so much setting them for a specific month, but we'd really like to see you focus on setting it out for the year or at least a quarter in advance. Since we are approaching October, now that we are at the dawn of a brand new quarter, may be a good idea for you to go ahead on Spa Central, pull these numbers from last year, and make sure that you see where you're at last year this time, see where you're at this year, compare, and maybe set out some goals for the next 3 months. So when we discuss goals, we always talk about this is what it is and I need you to hit it. SMART goals are a much easier way to set your goals and have accountability behind them where there's nothing slipping through the cracks. In other words, SMART, yes, another acronym, is something you want to follow when setting not just financial goals, but basic performance goals in your spa as well. You want them to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. Specific, don't just tell me that I need to make you $35,000 this year if I'm your spa director. I need you to be more specific than that. I need you to tell me how much do I need to make in retail, how much do I need to make in your Memcash revenue, what you would like your draft to be as far as I'm expecting X amount of dollars to be automatically drafted with our EFT. So I need to know what I need to do to stay on top of my collections and maintain canceling members. So make sure you're specific, break it down, be very, very thorough whenever you're giving your goal, over communicate. Measurable. When you're measuring your goals, you use the tools that we provide to you. Typically, they're on Orion. When you're giving these goals to your spa director or spa directors on the webinar, if you are directing goals to your staff, make sure that you provide the right tools. Daily game plan is a perfect example because you're using that daily. The individual monthly action plan where you map out the entire month and then even the entire month for each employee. There is a 90-day game plan where you can fill out for the entire quarter. So there's a ton of different tools that you can use to measure these. So when you give the specific goals, make sure you provide some type of way that they can track and measure how they're going to be able to stay on top of hitting that goal and exceeding it. Achievable and realistic, these are sort of the same thing. These go hand in hand. You don't want to set goals that are unreachable. It's demotivating. Your staff will not work towards hitting these goals if it's a laughable amount that they know they cannot ever hit. And who wants to try and hit a goal that they know they cannot hit? Nobody's going to want to work towards that. If you have incentives in place, they know that they're never ever going to get that. So they're not going to give you all of their hard work towards hitting that or exceeding it. So make sure that you're setting achievable goals, make sure they're realistic, because that's the easiest way to demotivate your staff is setting something way too high. And also deadlines. Time-based. We already know we have a built-in time-based deadline when it comes to monthly goals, individual goals, the end of the month. However, when you think about where you're at to goal, there could be deadlines any day of the month. So if you are my spa director and I'm a franchisee and I say, look, you guys are kind of behind. Last week, you guys were doing great. The last 3 days, you've kind of been lagging behind. So put together a daily action plan with some notes on how you're going to catch back up to be where you should be at month to date. And let's meet back up this coming Friday at 2 o'clock. And I want to see what progress you've made. And I also want to see what the rest of the game plan looks like. So if I'm giving you a 35,000 goal for next month, I'm telling you specifics on it. I'm giving you the tools to use that I'm expecting for you to use daily to hit these goals. The goals are not unreachable. They're easy to attain if you have the right spa director in place and you're following up, following up, following up. Because a goal with no deadlines and no follow up meetings, it's just a wish. It'll never happen and you'll never hit it. So we all know who sets up and communicates the goals. It's obviously the franchisee to spa director. Spa directors, you take those goals, divvy them up among the staff using the daily game plan, also using the individual monthly action plan. And spa directors reiterate back to the franchisee daily on month to date, mid-month. You always want to take a look at where you're at to goal every single day. So make sure you have a good, clean, smart goal communication in place. We discussed setting the goals and the importance of that and how to communicate these goals. Now it's time to pull these numbers. As I said before, since we are in the month of October and we are taking on the last quarter of 2014, I highly recommend go into Spa Central. I have the URL right here for you. Go into Spa Central, pull 2013 numbers for the entire year, see exactly where you were at. Go back in and see where you're at month to date at this point for 2014 and consider mapping out the next 3 months so that way you have the opportunity to be able to break even or even better, see an increase over last year. That would be great. So try to do that first. But since we are in the new month of October, if you don't do the next quarter, please at least make sure that you do it for the upcoming month and that you plug it into your Spa Intel, which is what we're about to do right now. So once you've configured what your 10% increase to your goal is, you're going to go to your software, you're going to pull up Spa Intel and look at your dashboard. On your dashboard, there is a Spa Goal Management button, which is located right here. You'll go ahead and click that button. And the first thing that you'll do, if you're not already brought to October, is you're going to make sure that you're in the correct month and year and click refresh if not. And then here is where you would plug in the spa's goals that you've just configured, which will contain your 10% increase over this month last year. So then we're going to hit edit spa goals. And here is where I would plug in the goals for the month. And I have this already plugged in as an example. And you just type away. As you can see, it asks you for the Memcash, your retail, how much you are expected to collect, daily deals if you have any, if you have Groupon Living Social, how much you want to set the goal at being as far as what you are going to bring in from that. It'll calculate your in the bank for you. Guests, new members, EFT increase, decrease, and red appointments. Here you'll plug in those goals. And in case you do not know, the difference between guests and the difference between red appointments are that guests are your basic walk-ins that did not come in from any type of promotion that you held or that you spoke to on the phone to schedule them an appointment. These are just people that have just walked in, or your red appointments that you have booked that actually showed up for their appointment. So that is what the number that goes here would be. Now, red appointments, this is actually what is expected of each staff member to have 12 of each day. So in this month, if I have 31 days and I'm expected for spa-wide to bring in at least 12 reds a day, regardless of if they show or don't show, these are how many you want to see booked. Well, obviously, there's 31 days in this particular month and 12 reds a day. I went ahead and put 372, but I am at least expecting 200 new people to walk in my door and have a consultation and use services. How many new members do we want? Well, we want 2 a day, but I went ahead and set realistic goals because I only have 3 people working in my particular spa. So I went ahead and set it at 40. Our EFT increase always stays the same across the board at 2,500. So I plugged all that in here and I'm going to click save. Now, once I've done this, I'm going to then go to my individual goals because the software does have the capability of doing that for you. So once you click on individual goals, this is the easiest part here. You will select an employee from the drop down. I'm going to go with Joe Smith or Jessica Mathern since it didn't want me to do Joe Smith. And now that I pulled up Jessica, it totaled out her hours because I previously went in and scheduled out the month for my staff. So unless you do this, this won't calculate for you. So be sure before you set any goals in your spa management that you go to employee scheduling and set everybody's schedule in advance for the month of October. I pulled up Jessica. It knows how many hours that she's worked for the month. All I need to do is click autofill. And it's showing me that she's 11.69% responsible to the goals for October. She's my weekend person. She's the one that works on Saturdays and Sundays only. So the most she works is 9, maybe 10 hours a week. So the system automatically divvies that up for you, and that's it. That's all it takes in order to plug in your goals and your individual goals in our Spa Intel software. This will do the same for any other employee that I choose. I'll choose another one, click autofill. And as you can see, Robin's came up and it's all completely different based on her percent to goal that it calculated out based on her hours to work. So that's it. That's all you really need to do. You go to Spa Goal Management on your dashboard, brings you here. Make sure you're in the month, year, refresh, make sure all that's correct, and fill all this out. Now, once the month actually starts, all this will start to fill out accurately, correctly, but because we're still technically in September, it's showing me a couple of weird things there. So again, before you do any of that, make sure you go to employee scheduling and make sure your employees are scheduled in there. If not, you will not get accurate individual goals set that will reflect on this dashboard here once all of those are saved. Thank you so much for attending this. Make sure that you call in on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, for the Q&A based on this webinar. If you want to get more details, if you still have some questions based on setting your goals in your spa, or if you want to just basically sit down, take a few minutes to kind of hear what other people are discussing about goal settings. It's the purpose of these calls that we have on Thursdays, and that's going to be at 10 a.m. Central Time, and then we'll host another one at 2 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to look in the newsletter on the dial-in instructions, and if you have any questions on this, please feel free to call in. Thanks.